Hello, my name is Chloe. Welcome to my channel. Today I am bringing to you my August wrap-up. So apologies if the lighting is a little bit naff. I am actually filming this really late at night, but I wanted to get it up at the start of September for you. So this is what we're doing. This one piece of hair is really going to bother me too, so let's try and ignore it. But talking about the books I read in August, I had a decent reading month. I read 13 books and the amount of pages turned out to be 4,862. So there were a few ways I did this. One, perseverance and reading in bed at night, even though I don't normally like to do that after a busy day. The other one is audiobooks. So I read 8 books physically and 5 books via audio, and one of my very big books I did via audio, so that definitely helped. To tell you the ratings of my books, I've just got to look down at my notes. I read 2 1-star books, 1 1.5 star, 2 2 stars, 1 3 star, 1 3.5 star, 5 4 stars and 1 5-star read, and we know they're really hard to get out of me, so I got 1 this month. And looking more into my statistics, my page count meant that I read 157 pages a day on average, and the average length of the books I was reading was 374 pages, so those are some pretty chunky books in 13 reads for the month. We're going to do it a way I haven't done in a while, and that is to start from my worst book, working my way up to my best book. So, the worst book that I read in August was Falling by TJ Newman. I am sorry, but I do not understand the hype for this book. To be honest, I've seen some raving reviews and then some really awful reviews. So yeah, I gave it 1 star. This is a book about a plane which is being piloted by a guy whose family have been taken hostage, and the way that he is going to get his family released and not harmed is by crashing the plane, and he's being ordered to do so by a terrorist. And yeah, doesn't that sound fun? The prologue and the first chapter I have described as screaming, crying, throwing up levels of pressure. I was like, oh my god, this is so tense, this is going to be amazing. If it continues like this, it's gruesome, it's compelling, like I want to know everything that's going on. And just sadly, it stopped there, and it ended up being really boring. So I gave it 1 star. Next up, I am ready for Mal to throw something at the screen. I gave 1 star to Feed by Myra Grant. This was the Chloe's Crime Scene Corner pick for the month, and sadly, I really disliked it. I knew what this book was going to be about from the blurb, and what it says in the blurb is not particularly what the book is about. So this is about in the year 2014, cancer has been cured, the common cold has been cured, every human disease is cured. But with that brings a rise of zombies. And there are very scientific ways that this happened. So now we are 20 years after 2014, and we have some bloggers, and bloggers have become a very important news source. So you have your normal news sources, and then you have the blogging community who are giving you like the real news. Well, it says on the back, they're on the trail of the biggest story of their lives, the dark conspiracy behind the infected. The truth will out, even if it kills them. Sounds very tense, right? But this is actually about the guy who is running for president of the United States, and Georgia and Sean become bloggers on his team. They're his media, and yeah, it follows the presidential campaign. For that reason, 1 star. I wanted to stop about 100 pages in. I was done, but seeing as I've not been finishing the Chloe's Crime Scene Corner reads, I thought I'd persevere with this one, and to be honest, I really wish I wouldn't have. It's really disappointing for me because I love Into the Drowning Deep by Myra Grant, like so much. It's one of my favourite horrors ever, and this just kind of sucked. Next up, I have my 1.5 star read, and that was The Perfect Sister by Zoe Miller. I read this right at the start of the month. It was my first read for the month, and I can't really remember too much about it. I actually listened to this one on audio, I should say, even though I'm holding the physical book. It came up on SCRIBD, I believe. And this is about Alice and Holly, who were inseparable sisters, and now there is just some sort of distance. Her sister has kept a distance, but she's hiding something. There is an apartment building at the start which we're told is going to be demolished, and some of the characters act very weirdly to this news, and it becomes obvious that one of them is hiding a secret in this building, and it will become uncovered if the building is demolished. Yeah, I don't really know. This wasn't a thriller. It does look like a thriller, right? I'm not being fooled here. It does look like a thriller, but it wasn't thrilling at all. It was more like a contemporary with no life lessons and a slight mystery, and then the mystery was really weird. Like, I actually can't even remember what it was. Forced to dig through the past in order to get to the truth, Alice starts to uncover years of Holly's secrets, and she's not the only one interested. Why is Alice's ex-husband suddenly so curious about her sister? There was some very obvious plot twists in this, actually. I've just remembered them. Overall, just not impressive. Like, look at my face, it's not impressive. I then gave 2 smutty books 2 stars. That I listened to on audio. The first one is Your Dad Will Do by Katie Robert. I don't know how I listened to this one on audio. It is pure, I've seen the corn emoji used to describe this book. Yeah, it was pure filth. There was no storyline, it was just filth. And it was completely the same book as Daddy's Angel by K.A. Knight, which I have read a little while ago now, and I enjoyed that one a little bit more. But this is about a woman who is cheated on by her fiance, so she takes revenge by sleeping with her ex-fiance's dad. And the book is like 150 pages, maximum 3 hours of this being described to us in full detail. And I had to give it 2 stars because I just genuinely don't think it's that great. It is fully just a book to get off to, is how I explained it. And I was looking for some sort of romance with filth. It was just filth, and I just couldn't really get on board with it. I do love some sexy time books, but they have to have a bit more of a point to them, and this genuinely had no point. And yeah, that's all I'll say on that. The next one though is Ride Hard by Laura Kay. Yes, Laura Kay. This one is a motorcycle club romance, and I had a very high hopes, so this is probably why it was a downfall. But this was about a girl and her friend who have been rescued by a motorcycle club when they are on the run from one of the girls' dads. He's into some weird shady business, and they get rescued by this motorcycle club, and straight away we're introduced to the big bad president, who we know is going to start a romance with the quieter, shy girl that has been rescued. Like, that is obvious. I kind of enjoyed the story. The one thing that made me give this such a low rating is I listened to the audiobook, and the narrator did such a timid, stupid voice for the main character. It was like so weak and soft and just not assertive in any way. Even when she was asking for things sexually, it was all like very muted, and it was really weird. It made everything feel wrong. I forgot how old she is. I believe she's over 21. She was definitely an adult, and she was just so quiet and odd and soft, and it was just, no. So 2 stars. Next up, it seems I only gave 1 book this month a complete middle of the road rating, and that was I Heart New York by Lindsay Kauk, which I gave 3 stars. Sorry if we've moved slightly, my phone was going off. Yeah, 3 stars for me does not mean it's a bad book. It means it's a good book, just not a very good book. This is a book about Angela, and Angela finds out that her boyfriend is cheating on her while at her best friend's wedding. Like, she literally finds him in a car cheating on her in that moment. So she decides to up and move to New York for fun. We'll just take a trip to New York for fun. Yeah, she genuinely just rocks up in New York, books a hotel room, makes some friends, and it was a bit odd. I did enjoy it. It was cute, it was easy, it was fun. But a lot of it just felt so removed from real life that I couldn't really get on board. Silly things like visas, discussions about visas, because she is just entering another country and just hanging out with no real plans, and like freelance work and stuff like that. And I know that reading about visas probably wouldn't be too exciting, but for somebody with their heart literally in America, things like that really irked me with this one. Irked, good word. But I did enjoy it apart from that. I do have this very beat up copy that I will be getting rid of. I wouldn't see myself rereading this, and I don't know if I'm going to carry on with the series, but I did have a decent time with it. Things just irked me. Next up, the 3.5-star book I read was If You Change Your Mind by Robbie Webber. I did enjoy this one. This is a YA contemporary romance about Harry, who wants to become a screenwriter. But to do that, he has to avoid the distractions in the form of boys over the summer break. And yeah, we meet his ex-boyfriend Grant, who is his first heartbreak, and there is a new guy in town called Logan. And really, I can't remember that much about this book. It has been quite forgettable, which is a little bit upsetting. I can't even believe I read it this month, actually. I did just have to look up my review on Goodreads because I kind of forgot what I thought. Sorry. I said this was a nice book, very heartwarming at times. I was rooting for the characters, and oh yeah, here it is. I loved that it was a realistic summer break. So you read some books and it's like, oh yeah, these teenagers are going to jet set to this different country and they're just going to do nothing and sit on their asses all day for the entire summer. But this one was about, like, the guy got a summer job and had to work in order to go and do his hobbies in the summer. And I really, really appreciated that, because I feel like a lot of contemporaries, obviously, they're the best situation. Like, there's going to be some fit guy that turns up and everyone's going to fall in love and blah, blah, blah. But to be like, oh yeah, sorry, I'm at work. So realistic. I loved it, especially as these characters are supposed to be 17, 18. Like, that made sense to me. The other thing I wasn't a massive fan of is there are screenwriting elements. This is why it got a 3.5, not a 4. I remembered this now, but there are screenwriting elements because that is what our main character likes to do. And I didn't really get those. Those kind of went over my head, so that really detracted from the story a little. But overall, I read this whole book in 4 hours. So it definitely is good. It's an easy read. It's a heartwarming summer pick-me-up kind of situation. But it didn't completely knock my socks off. So that's why it's a 3.5 and not a 4. As I said though, I did have 5 4-star reads this month. The first one being Clockwork Angel by Cassandra Clare. This book is religiously my lowest rated Cassandra Clare to date. I know 4 stars is a really good rating, especially for me, but the first one in this series really does just, I'm not a massive fan. I've been reading these books every single month and I have been annotating, so this one is highlighted up and written in with my thoughts. I do enjoy doing that, and I'm currently reading the next book, Clockwork Prince. But yeah, I just didn't have that much to say about this one. I do really enjoy seeing Victorian London and putting the Shadowhunters back in that time. I think that's really, really interesting. But it took me a very long time to get through this book and I wasn't that invested at all, so I couldn't give it higher than 4 stars really. Next up, we have Meet Me in the Middle by Alex Light, which I also gave 4 stars, of course. And this was an arc that came out in July. I should say that If You Change Your Mind came out in May. This one came out in July. I was finally doing a catch-up. I haven't quite caught up yet, but I've been getting through a few. So this is by the author of The Upside of Falling, which I did like these books about the same amount. I did really like this one, and the final 50 pages had me gut-wrenching sobbing, like full-on sobbing. But there was one niggly thing that really, really got me down, and that was the back and forth of we shouldn't do... Okay, I should probably tell you what it's about. This is about Eden and her best friend Katie. Katie has gone into a coma after a traumatic accident, and her brother Truman was getting a little bit close to his sister's best friend on the night of this traumatic accident, and we are looking at the aftermath of the accident and how these teenagers, young adults, are kind of navigating how they feel about each other while being really confused and kind of grieving about Katie, who is in a coma. In a coma. Truman, trauma, coma. Lots of words. But yeah, so I did enjoy this one, as I said, properly sobbing. But I could not deal with the constant back and forth of we shouldn't do this, but I want to do this, but we shouldn't do this, but I want to do this. And it was constant back and forth, and that always just, again, irks me. So that literally dropped the whole book a star. But again, another very easy read. I stormed through this one and really enjoyed it. I felt like there was a lot good in this book. I was a little bit confused about the age of the characters, so this prompted a bit of a discussion on YA adult, because this is published by Harper 360 YA. It is a YA, but our main character is over 18, so I was just a little bit confused on what age range this is aimed at. I know the lines are kind of blurring, and that's a whole other discussion video, but yes, I was a little bit confused by the age. I didn't like the back and forth of we shouldn't do this, we should do this, but gut-wrenching sobs, would fully recommend. 4 stars. Oh, next up, I was really trying to work out why I couldn't see this book, and it's because I already sent it to Chelsea, and that is A Monster Calls by Patrick Ness, which I gave 4 stars. I finally read it. It's been on my TBR for literally months, and this one, I knew I was never going to read it again, so I sent it to Chelsea, but it really weirded me out. It's very strangely told, kind of contemporary, magical realism-iness. And this is about a young boy whose mother is very, very ill, and he sees a monster outside of his window. And that is pretty much the entire story, but it's told very lyrically. There are lots of stories and how his mother's illness is affecting his life, his school, his behaviour, and I did find it really, really compelling, and I had to hold back tears in the office, but I didn't think I'd ever read it again, so it couldn't get 5 stars. It didn't give me that 5-star feeling, but I did like it, and I would recommend it, so 4 stars. Next up, completely the opposite end of the scale, we have Desperate Measures by Katie Robert, which also got 4 stars. I said in my vlog when I read this, I will not be taking questions at this time, and I still don't think I'm taking questions. This is about Princess Jasmine and Jafar, who becomes Daddy Jafar. I don't really know what to say about this. It is a smutty retelling of Aladdin, and I kind of loved it. I kind of loved it. I don't know. There's a BDSM dungeon thing. There's the safe word is the name of the tiger. Not taking questions. Still, like a month later, still not taking questions. Kind of loved it. Would not recommend it to the faint-hearted. If you want some weird smut, Daddy Jafar. Next up, the final 4-star read I read this month, which I actually listened to on audio but I have the physical copy, is Wolfsong by TJ Klune. So I was sent this book by Black Crow PR and Tor Books, and annoyingly ended up on a blog tour. I didn't know what was happening, but I read the book on time. I just need to find a way to take a nice photo of this book, and yeah, 4 stars. I did really like it. I ended up listening to the audio just to get through it quickly in time for my review, and I think that might have impacted my rating. I think rushing it wasn't the best idea, but hey ho, done it now. This is a story about Ox, who is a little bit misunderstood, and one day a new family moves in at the end of his lane, the Bennetts, and Joe Bennett becomes his best friend. Even though Ox is 16 and Joe is 10, they form this attachment that people can't really explain. And it turns out the Bennett family are werewolves, and Ox gets brought into this life of fantasy, and I really did like it. The smut came out of nowhere, but was really, really nice. Like, it was so detailed but realistic, and I do appreciate that in my smut. Like, I need to actually be able to understand what's going on, what's where, TMI, but I just liked that it was realistic. There was no extensive metaphors about what was happening. We just got the details, and I really appreciate that. But yes, I think if this would have been shorter and a whole chunk would have been cut out, and I can pick the chunk for you, I think this could have beat Cerulean Sea, but sadly it's like 600 pages long, and I didn't love every single minute. I loved the start, I loved the end, the middle was not my favourite thing. So it got stuck at 4 stars. 4 stars is definitely not a bad rating. I would definitely recommend this book, and I'm now feeling like I need to give Under the Whispering Door another go, because I feel like I'm missing something with that book. So 4 stars, would recommend. And finally, if you have been watching my weekly reading vlogs, you will know exactly what book is my favourite of the month. There is only one I haven't talked about yet, and that is Docile by K.M. Sparrow. So my vlog 99, the title ended up just being I Love Docile and Shots, and this book made me so uncomfortable. and nauseous and anxious and question life. I loved it. So I love books that make me feel awkward and nervous. I'm not even sure how to explain it. I've just realised we're really getting close to 25 minutes full of filming and it's just me nattering on. So I'm going to try and speed this up a little bit. But yeah, this book is about a society where your debt is inherited, and if you're born into a family with lots of debt, then you can sell yourself to slavery, to being a docile, in order to repay that debt. And you have to negotiate a contract with how much debt is going to be paid, how long the term's going to be. You kind of know what sort of thing they're going to ask for. And yeah, our main character sells his life into slavery. The sexual element of this book is very graphic. I did not know that going in, and I was a little bit shocked by it, but also the visceral feeling that it got out of me was just amazing. This author is just fantastic at making you feel like you could be the character, and my camera is flashing. Okay, what was I saying? Making you feel like you could be the character. So when our main character starts, he hates the idea of slavery, of course he does, and he's just kind of disgusted at the whole system. And obviously, without spoilers, things change and his feelings change, and it's so well done that you don't notice it happening until it's too late, and you're just so immersed in the story. I should say this was my Patreon read for the month, so we read this throughout the month and discussed it, and I had a great time doing that. There were some very, very different opinions, but I feel like that is the beauty of everyone reading and being able to discuss a book, and I absolutely love this with my whole heart, and I will be clutching onto this for the future, the life, whatever. So there we have it. There are the 13 books that I read in August. Have you guys read any of these? Do you love them? Any strangely differing opinions? Did you love Feed? Did you hate Docile? Please do let me know down in the comments. But on that note, I need to go to bed. So thank you very much for watching this video. I really do hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.